because he apparently improved his position in violation of the steward's edict as he cut through that chicane. So he will be called in, stop-and-go penalty, back on the circuit.
And that's going to be a very costly thing. People have to remember, on a road circuit, that's a very costly thing to have to come in and stop and take back off. He'll probably come out more than halfway back in the field.
Michael Andretti leads it after 3 laps. DeFerrin will answer the back flag and fall out of second place. That'll move Teo Fabi up to second, followed by Al Unser Jr. and Jacques Villeneuve. Gold Coast of Australia in beautiful surfer's paradise, where the twin yellow flags fly at the start-finish line, is a result of an incident just a few moments ago involving Adrian Fernandez. There he is. The Ducati car bounces off of the barrier after being pushed a little wide, or the car itself pushing wide going into the corner. You ride now on the front nose of Bobby Rahal's car. Fernandez really lighting up those brakes as he made the turn in, and can't get the car back pointed straight as he comes off of the corner, bounces off of the tire wall. So that necessitated a full course caution. It brought the field under the control of the PPG pace car with Johnny Rutherford at the wheel, and now we anticipate going back to green flag racing shortly here. Michael Andretti is the leader of the race. As soon as the green flag comes out, we anticipate that Gilles DeFerrin will acknowledge the black flag displayed just before the yellow, come into the pits for his stop-and-go penalty. The actual order of scoring will then be Michael Andretti, Teo Fabi, Al Unser Jr., and Jacques Villeneuve and Emerson Fittipaldi rounding off the top 5.
One consequence of this time spent under the yellow, of course, is an easing of the potential brake problems. Every lap they spend under the yellow, and the skies also have clouded up. It's a little cooler. Make the drivers think they may get through a little bit better with the brakes.
Michael Andretti leads the field around. Gary Gerald?
Well, Jim Hall is not a happy car owner about this black flag penalty. They appealed. They thought that they had won the appeal. Then upon further review, they said, no, we will bring him in for a black flag. And Jim Hall is not a happy man right now. He contends that his driver was trying to avoid an incident when he shortcutted the course. And even though he advanced the position, Hall and his group doesn't think that the penalty is just. They're still lobbying with officials. To the best of our knowledge, Paul, after we go green, they will, in fact, bring DeFerrin in for the stop and go.
And those conversations with the stewards do make for some interesting conversations. Stefan Johansson, the 16 car, the field will all be tightly bunched, so that, too, will adversely affect DeFerrin's position when he makes the stop and go, because they were a bit strung out before. He might have been able to get in and out without losing nearly as many positions as he might now.
His background in European racing, though, is in this kind of thing exactly, and he's extremely aggressive in traffic. I think we'll see DeFerrin pick off car after car, particularly under braking.
So now the pace begins to pick up. Michael Andretti will lead the field back. Pace car peels off for the pit area. Already Al Unser Jr. on the move. Green flag is out. DeFerrin will take the full lap, and then he should come in. Michael Andretti leads the field. Unser Jr. moved on Teo Fabi. That put him into second.
Well, it looked like they were rubbing tires coming down from the start, Paul. I think they might have touched wheels a little bit there.
Jimmy Vasser looking good, then Fittipaldi and Paul Tracy closing in at the back of Fittipaldi. Michael Andretti's not pulling away quite like he did last time.
Tracy's having a good first part of this race, running really steadily in heavy traffic.
A look back from Michael's car. DeFerrin trying to keep up. He wants to lose as little distance as possible.
Well, by now he's already heard, I'm sure, by radio via Jim Hall, that he's going to have to come in. He's probably sitting there very angry. But he might have halfway expected it when the incident happened at any rate.
Michael Andretti out in front, 7 laps complete here in Surfers Paradise, Australia. Scheduled distance, 65 laps. Michael Andretti bounces it off the curbs on both sides. Most of the drivers have been driving very disconnected like this all weekend.
Michael says it's a track that really rewards aggressive driving. That is, when you do bounce off the curbs and shortcut the track, you gain time. On other tracks, you sometimes just lose time doing that.
Now here is a piece of information from the officials of the race. They're going to show the black flag to car number 1, Al Unser Jr., and that's because of that move that he made as they came toward the green flag. He looked to me like he jumped the start a bit, but you're his uncle.
Well, I think he did too, Paul. I can't help whether I'm his uncle or not. I feel that he did jump the flag. He looked to me like he bumped tires, bumped wheels with Fabi, and I think this is a proper deal.
So Gil de Ferran and Al Unser Jr. both answer the black flag. And Unser Jr. hammers it coming out of the pits and gets around de Ferran.
Well, I've never seen little Al any more aggressive than he is today. I think he must feel that the car's working a lot better because he's one aggressive driver.
Well, Bobby, you described the work that the Penske team put in the last couple of weeks, an incredible amount of work and expense, but it's paid off. They were on the middle of the front row, and now they look very competitive here.
Well, they're going to look great for a few moments because they blended back in at about 18th position. So there are cars in front of them now that earlier in the weekend during practice and qualifying, they were much quicker than. Well, not much quicker, but somewhat superior to. And so we should see them as they carve their way up through this field. Here's that restart. Now take a look at Al Unser Jr., the fourth pace car, peels off for the pit.
Notice how far over to the left he goes. He actually touches that painted place that is supposed to demark the entrance to the pit.
And that was
might
that
have
white
been part of it, don't you think, Bobby?
Yes, there was that white thing that I thought was maybe a little bit of dust from the tires touching each other. They really didn't touch, but he was definitely passing before the green flag fell. There's no question about that.
Michael Andretti has been a dominant force every year that he has run this race. Of course, he won it last year, leading every single lap and beating his nemesis at the time, Nigel Mansell. He once again just proves that he's in a class by himself as long as his equipment hold up. But Bobby, who you see in second in that white and Dayco orange car with those hard tires, is really very interesting threat, don't you think, Bobby?
Yes, and no doubt about that, Tim.
And like we said, it's starting. There seem to be surprises wherever we go now with the Indy cars. The season only a race and a fraction old, but still the practices and qualifying have been spectacular with some most interesting performances. So the sixth car, Michael Andretti, is out in front. That's Teo Fabi and Jacques Villeneuve in pursuit, and there's Jimmy Vasser as he comes off the corner. And now the officials tell us, and I was kind of wondering about this. Bobby, you mentioned that the speed limit on the pits was 80 miles an hour. Little Al touched 90 coming out.
Yes,
that's going to be another violation.
They made it quite plain also that 85 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour is the speed limit. 85 would be the point of a penalty. And of course, little Al, if he was recorded at 90 on the radar gun, he's got that penalty coming. But I tell you, he's really hot and really aggressive. I haven't seen him this aggressive for a long time.
It seemed that he got a little carried away with the idea of exiting the pits in front of de Ferran. I don't blame him for wanting to come out ahead.
It's hard to pass here. You know, if you can pass in the pits via a pit stop or via exit of a pit, that's the place to do it. It's a lot easier than it is out on the racetrack.
Bobby, as you recall, lost his ride with Jim Hall last year at the end of the year. That ride is now being driven by de Ferran. So Bobby is looking very good here.
The beautiful Surfers Paradise, Australia. Michael Andretti has led right from the start of this race. We've just concluded the 10th lap as the Pacific Ocean rolls in just a few yards from the circuit. The Marriott Surfers Paradise Resort, just a few feet away from the pit straight here at the racetrack. Interesting story, Floyd Ganassi so likes the showers in this resort hotel that he bought one of the shower heads to take back to the United States. Let's go pit side, Jack Arute.
Paul, one of the things that's happened with the Firestone Goodyear combination for tires here at IndyCar is that Goodyear brings two separate types of tires to every race. One is the recommended setup, then about 3 or 4 points harder is the optional setup. Michael Andretti qualified on the recommended setup, but there's the OP. We saw it on Robbie Gordon's tires in Miami. Michael Andretti is set to put the optional tire, the harder tire, on in his first pit stop. That should come around lap 18 or 19, could come as late as lap 23.
So that's a harder compound tire.
Yes, and what the reason for all this is, so, whoa, look at just...
The 64 car.
Bobby Lazier. Buddy Lazier. Left it a little bit late in braking. There you see.
They're running way back in the field, back in 20th place, able to continue on. Jimmy Vasser looking very strong in 4th place.
I started to mention the reason for the 2 tires, Paul, is the soft tires get put on for qualifying because they heat up quicker, and for short spurts they're better. Often the harder tires work better when you've got slipperiness, a lot of rubber on the road like you see right there in our picture.
Jimmy Vasser, who you see here in the STP car, is running 4th. A very strong performance for him.
Back at the front of the field, Michael Andretti, Teo Fabi in pursuit, as well as Villeneuve. There's Vasser. Paul Tracy runs in 5th place.
The gap from 1st to 2nd is down from 2.5 seconds to 1.5 seconds. So Fabi is doing very well on the hard compound tire, the one which Jack tells us Michael will be shifting to.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jimmy Vasser, look at him there. He's looking so good driving for Chip Ganassi this year.
He looks like he's sitting in a midget race car coming off the corner sideways.
Well, he knows how to do that, too, doesn't he?
He made that deal to join Ganassi well after Brian Herta was already aboard the team. It looked like a 1-car team. Now it's a 2-car team, and there's every reason to be very happy if you're Chip Ganassi with this young find.
You know, Jimmy Vasser right there, the number 12, came up with Jim Hayhoe, a guy that's been a motor racer and IndyCar racing for an awful long time. Couldn't keep the gap up, as we mentioned last couple of weeks ago. And now, of course, Chip Ganassi has him. And it's a really good team, and it's a good car. And that's the Floyd Ganassi, the father that bought the shower head.
And he will find probably that because it's a metric shower head, he won't be able to screw it in when he gets home.
He'll weld it together, Sam.
So there's 2nd place in pursuit of Michael Andretti, now 1.5 seconds back. Look at Fabi light those brakes as he comes into the corner, and almost, wow, he drives that course every inch of it.
Remember, Fabi is an engineer, a very skilled, technical man. Fabi, we were talking about that the other day, and I think he has an understanding of how to run this race with the harder compound that made standing in very good stead.
All right, let's go to the Penske pits. Gary Gerald.
Roger, in view of the 2 stop-and-go penalties, what do you tell your driver?
Well, we just have to take it easy. I can't believe the first one. I didn't see it on the monitor. You fellows know more whether it was a violation or not. Then the second one, they're talking about speed in the pits. We had 2 cars going out together. I didn't know a radar gun just works on 1 car, but with nothing we can do about it, we got to keep racing here. It's a long way to go.
Has this totally destroyed your chances to win this race, or do you still think you can make a good day out of it?
Well, it's a long day. I mean, we're not a lap down. We're on the same lap, so we just have to work as hard as we can to get some points. So I think we've got to be positive and keep going.
Positive is the key word for a team that is struggling out of the box this year, but all that testing at Firebird, they came in with high hopes, Paul. Now they're having to come out from the back again.
Well, it's a long way, too. Al Unser Jr. is in 20th place. His teammate Fittipaldi is in 6th, though.
You know, the radar problem coming in or coming out of the pits, it's a radar gun that shoots out in a cone angle. I think Roger Penske has made a good point there, and hopefully CART will figure out a way to straighten this out or cure it, because there's no way to know which car. It's no different than getting a speed limit or speeding ticket on the highway. Who was really going fast out of those 2? And can it really do both of them? We know that it can't.
I think I heard you try to explain that to the Georgia Patrol once, and I don't think you explained it to them either.
I certainly have.
Let's go to the pits and Jack.
Well, Bobby, I'm a real expert on radar. I've been caught by it so many times out on the highway. What IndyCar has done this year is, rather than utilizing a stationary radar gun, they have policemen on pit road, literally PPG IndyCar officials that point the gun at individual cars. That has cut down on the situation that you're speaking about. And as you watch this guy work, he'll look at 1 car, point the gun, get the reading, then point it to another car. So it's a little bit different than what you're saying upstairs. And I ought to know, man, I've been caught by radar a lot of times.
And Bobby's shaking his head, Jack. And I think I've heard this explanation before, but let's try it again.
Yeah, Jack, if you even call a radar company, the radar people that make these guns, they'll tell you it goes out in a cone. They have no conscience. They really have no idea, those guns, which car it's picking up. Often, they'll even pick up color as to oppose to who's moving the fastest.
Well, there it is as they both came out of the pit area. And little Al was carrying more speed, but of course he was also coming from further back in the pits and had the opportunity to roll up faster. But all you have to do is take the gun's word for it, and you say that's no good.
It isn't in a case like that, that's for sure.
All right. Surfers Paradise, Michael Andretti out in front now by 3.5 seconds over Teo Fabi. In 3rd place, Jacques Villeneuve, then Jimmy Vasser, and Paul Tracy. So the action continues at Surfers Paradise, Australia. We'll be back after this message and a word from our ABC station. As we look over from the harbor right next to the hotels here to the track itself, using the public thoroughfares down the right there.